to the Richmond Footy Club. A lot to talk about here. Adam Uze would be wondering what's happened because he thought he was walking into the most stable club in Richmond, and as we saw on the weekend, CEO included, it's barely a shell of its former self.
For me, I just didn't want to pass up on an opportunity to go to a stable footy club, to be able to grab your players and staff and just go and play the game and not worry about what's happening upstairs, because this footy club's run, obviously, an amazing board under Brendan's leadership. Upstairs is a really powerful part of our organisation.
I think a lot of people in football knew even then that Brendan Gale was probably Tasmania bound. His succession plan was to have Simon Matthews replace him. Simon Matthews was overlooked in favour of a younger, strongly commercial candidate in Shane Dunn last week. So there'll be more change at Richmond quite clearly, and the high performance boss, of course, is gone too today. So, and that's just the off-field, Craig. The decisions now are what Blair Hartley and Tim Livingston, without Brendan Gale looking over their shoulder, are going to do with the list.
They need a massive season trade period, Caro, and brings us now to the House of Hutch.
Huge chance for Operation Tiger Restripe. Clear them out. This is the chance. It's the Hawthorn strategy on steroids. Take it another level, and here's how to go about it for the Tigers. They've just got to embrace the demand of these players and to flip them as hard and quickly as they can. Ideally, picks into this draft, which is better than next, but take them across too. So Baker, you're going to get picked somewhere in the teens, and you take that deal. Riola, you've got to try and hunt the early pick on the Suns. They're classics at giving away overpaying for teams for picks. You've got to go for it. Graham, you'll get the compo that the system serves you, and Bolton, there's 2 first rounds every day of the week because, again, the buyer is sitting on picks. You've got to hunt those picks. And here's the trick with Tom Lynch. Everyone seems to be... The elephant in the room is the money, $1.5 million. That's Richmond's opportunity. They've got to pay someone next year. They'll barely pay their full cap next year. Richmond's move is to say, Tom Lynch is up for grabs and we're paying. We'll pay 90%, all of it, of the $1.5 million. What we want is the high pick. No point us paying and giving us a 3rd or 4th round pick. We'll cop the bill, but we want a 1st round pick in this year's draft or next. And that's the currency's quid pro quo there. You might have to do a bit better than that. And then Broad's contracted, they re-signed him this year, but I still think he's got currency. He's 30. Even though he was a free agent signed, I'd deal him out too and get that pick into next year, ideally around pick 2025 of next year. And that would give you 7 extra picks. On top of this year's 121, 29, 39, 41, you could probably play a little bit of games to improve some of those when you package them into some of the academies in the state, and you might end up with, the best part of, call it 12, 14 picks inside 30 over the next 2 drafts.
And a good draft line.
And a complete reset.
This year's strong, more so than next year.
But my one caveat, I'm sorry, I've got to say this. And in the words of Jake Knoll, Daniel Rioli is not only a leader at Richmond who's had a great year, BNF probably this year, he's an Indigenous leader at a club that embraces Indigenous talent. I think he is the one player that I would really fight to keep.
Well, he's going, and you've got to respect him properly is to respect that wish to go and not hold him against his will, and you're going to get overpaid for him. So embrace it.
Are all these clubs that stupid that they'd all be giving around? I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Shea Bolton, but he's not a reliable player. Why would Freo
that's
not
true,
go
but
to the
they've
draft?
Got the benefit of the longevity of the contract, and they consider
He might be the difference for him next year.
What's the latest on West Coast job, Cara?
Well, we know that Brent Montgomery's in there. We know Andrew McWalder's in there. We know that there's still several candidates who are very much in there. But I'm convinced now that Nathan Buckley, despite your back and forward on radio this morning, Kane, he's not going.
He's out.
Dean Cox is not going. None of the other contenders who I wrote about in The Age on Saturday, Daniel Ginn, Syracusa, etc., Ashley Hansen, Jamie Graham, they don't want the job. And as I said earlier tonight, Craig, this is a red flag for the AFL. Are we able to have a quick listen again to what Chris Scott said to us a couple of years ago?
Would you like to see him do it?
No.
No. Why?
I wouldn't. Because it's not a very good job, to be honest.
It's a big statement.
Yeah, no, it's just hard work.
What's your concerns most?
No, it's just a stressful existence.
And this is one of the most
He's talking about his brother Brad and when to get back into coaching.
And I think everything he's seen at Essendon over the last 2 years, he'd repeat those words. But this is one of the most successful coaches of the last decade, a two-time premiership coach, and he would still today, I reckon, Chris Scott, say it's a stressful existence. So the AFL needs to look at this. Coaches aren't rewarded enough. They don't have the cachet they once had. They are screaming at the AFL to hear them, and now they should hear by what's going on at West Coast.
Waterman and Reed were the two positives for West Coast this year. I think Harley Reed will be top 5 in their best and fairest, which is a great effort. Here's the positives. Here's the positives of Harley Reed last quarter, what he can do as a forward. That's Dustin Martin-like, where you take the opposition, it's a good opposition down to the goal square, and you do this. So imagine more ball can come in. This is what he's got to not do. This is schoolboy football where you are the best and you can do whatever you want, and that's Harley Reed. So that had to be given earlier, and the player just runs into an open goal, didn't give it. So that is schoolboy sort of stuff for where you can do what you want. And look at the captain, Oscar Allen, blowing up at him. And this was another one where the lack of predictability. So this has to be given now. And that's players running into an open goal. He doesn't give it, and watch the trouble he gets his team in. And then you can see the frustration by Darling and everyone else going, geez, I was on here. So that's where a strong coach has to demand more of him and other players.